Welcome to the virtual AWP Conference and Book Fair. I'm Kenyatta Rogers, a member of the AWP Board of Directors. For accessibility, I'd like to offer a physical description of myself. I'm a 6'2" African-American man. I have locks. I'm wearing a pink t-shirt. I don't have any glasses and I have a full beard. We're delighted to bring you this event today. Before we introduce our featured presenters, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Alice James Books, sponsor of today's event. Our literary partners and sponsors allow AWP to present the extraordinary literary events and help us keep our conference affordable and accessible. A thank you to all of our conference sponsors and partners for their support and participation. This event will take place live on March 4th from 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Central Time. After the conclusion of the event, it will be available for on-demand viewing. The event is being live captioned through stream text. Please find the link to access stream text from your browser in the event description. A transcript of the event will be available for on-demand viewing. During the live event, please enter your questions or comments into the platform chat box on the right of the screen. Time permitting, there will be a brief Q&A where the moderator will take questions from the platform chat. If you're watching on demand, feel free to continue to leave comments in the chat box to the right of the video. We thank you so much for attending and for your continued support of AWP. We hope you enjoy the event.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's sponsored reading from Alice James Books. My name is Cortney Lamar Charleston, and I will be the moderator for this event. In order to just provide a quick description of myself, I am an African-American man, 5'8", wearing glasses, a black shirt with a baseball cap, and I have a full beard. And we are so thankful, first and foremost, for your patience as we worked through the technical difficulties on our end to bring you this event. And it's an event that I know has been very anticipated. I've been certainly waiting and excited for this day to come for a long while, and I am so thrilled to finally be able to get started. So as we get into things, I want to be able to just offer a few opening remarks. First and foremost, this event is going to be featuring 3 tremendous poets from the Alice James Books family. That would be Shira Erlichman, Taylor Johnson, and Sumita Chakraborty. We are going to hear from each of these poets as they read selections of their work. And then, time permitting, we're going to have a brief discussion and Q&A towards the back end of the event. And hopefully there will be some time to take questions from the audience as well. And I look forward to seeing your thoughts and reflections as we go through the course of the event. I'm not going to, delay the start any longer. I want to get to the good stuff. I want to get to the poems just like everyone else. So what I'm going to do now is turn and introduce our very first poet. That will be Shira Erlichman. I'm pulling up Shira's. One moment, please. Okay. Shira Erlichman is a poet, musician, and visual artist. In Hebrew, her name means poem and song. She was born in Israel and immigrated to the US when she was 6. She is the winner of the Audre Lorde the Audre Lorde Award for Lesbian Poetry, a finalist for the Lambda Award, and a silver medalist for the Nautilus Award. She's been awarded the James Merrill Fellowship by the Vermont Studio Center, the Visions of Wellbeing Focus Fellowship at AIR Serenbe, as well as a residency by the Malay Colony. Her work has been featured in PBS NewsHour's poetry series, The Nation, The Seattle Times, and The New York Times, among others. She is the author of Odes to Lithium, Alice James Books, 2019, and the author-illustrator of Behold, a friendship book, out from Penny Candy, also published in 2019. She lives in Brooklyn, where she runs Freer Form, a portable creativity school connecting a global community of writers. Find her at www www.officialshira.com, and on Twitter at Sheer, SHEER _ awe, AWE. Shira, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Courtney. Just to offer a quick description of myself, I am a 5'0" tall, small white woman with big glasses and a messy bun on her head and a black mock turtleneck. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so grateful for your patience. I'm really excited to hear Taylor and Sumita and to have Courtney just be the one shepherding us. I love Courtney shepherding us in general. I'm thankful to Carrie always in every way, more ways than she knows. And to AWP too for choosing to feature us and to uplift this really important press that I just feel so indebted to and so in love with. So I'm gonna get to the poems, and please relax, paint your nails, do whatever you want to do where you are. I wonder where you are actually. And I'm gonna read you some poems. I'm gonna read new poems. This one is called Somewhere Real. Get in, George Eliot. I packed PB&Js. I'm bringing that rainbow parachute we held hands under as 8-year-olds. Get in, right beside Autumn, beside every manic pixie dream girl screenplay written by a man, beside Bad Weather, beside Allegra's pomegranate split into 5 uneven offering, besides Allegra herself. She's a mother now, as I write this. Get in television and all hardware of the 90s, Montel, Jerry, Ricky, get in, I'm driving. Get in, exes, tell me about life without me, pick the music, thread a threat through my dumb brown hair, something like you were always so, and then let the rain finish your sentence. Get in, rain, but don't hog the air. I'm running away. I'm tired of not being a monk. Get in, you're so vain, and 5 o'clock shadows, and how hard it is to not talk to my brother. We went a whole year and a half. Get in, year and a half. Get in, therapist with the good haircut and bad advice. You too, Michael Jackson. I'm so sorry you had to be Michael Jackson. The kind of snow that only fell when I was young, get in. Or maybe it's just how I saw it, get in. I'm trying desperately not to sound cute, which is, of course, adorable, but please. 11 siblings killed in the camps, get in. Next to my grandfather. Pill-headedness, get in. Pema Chodron's forehead and everything behind it, get in. I'm not gonna say it again. Buckle up, put a daffodil behind my ear, touch my shoulder from the back seat, write my will for me. Tell Mary Ann Evans I can hear her humming. It's fine, except it's driving me nuts. I'm aware that I'm crying, get in. Sit next to Cave, the baffling intelligence of Starling and Uteri, front seat. I'm only 5 feet tall. Too many strangers pick me up as a gag. My recurring dream is that I choose this life again. Keep your hands inside the vehicle. The mandolin I inherited because of genocide. Keep me awake all night. Morgan, I just want to watch your hands protect a flame. Everybody, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best not to lean so hard on metaphor I avoid where I am. This road invented itself. Even though I get the facial expressions right, I'm a poor listener, get in. Greasy-haired, buck-toothed, gets distracted easily, deodorant stains, secret crush on Catherine, come on in. Throw your book bag out the window and tell me your favorite color. Turquoise, get in. The locker they shoved Gabby into, and I didn't do it, but I didn't stop them. Get in. The line between where you almost went and where you're going, they call that a fork. Funny. Every time I let the moon roof slide open, but there was no moon. Get in, hurry slowly, slow up, slur your worlds, say your sorrow, admit you loved the uglier twin while arm in arm with the one older by a second. Oh, cherishing, get in, it's not too late. Get in, the diner never closes. Get in, put your feet on the dash. I'm stopping at I can't believe they call it this, 2 commands, rest, stop. The game is we rush into the gas station. You buy me a souvenir I most certainly don't need, and you. I found this keychain. It blinks your name. They never have mine. Get in world, death, time, I swear, I'll turn this car around if you don't hotbox us vapid. The day the stars come down and start walking around like they own the place, God said, I'm quitting, get in. The game is I spy. The game is who can be quiet the longest. The game is hold your breath, there's a cemetery. Order me fries, order me lungs, order me around. Order my manuscript. Here's a handful of pennies, of ketchup packets, of sky. I know you're exhausted. Get in. I'm driving you home. Roll down your window. The forecast is alive. The dog's kicking in his sleep, which means a brain the size of a lemon can squeeze a whole dream. Poor poet, get in. You never could say goodbye with grace. Lucille, get in. Dead family, get in. I want to show you something. I had no map when I started, and now here I am, somewhere real called loving you. Get in. All right. Thank you guys. I'm sort of like, moving in and out of this good light. I am gonna read a sonnet. It is called First Nude. I know that some of you out there also took your first nude in quarantine. Seems reasonable. With everything that was thrown at us, why not? So I have a series I'm doing, and there's first nude, second nude, and then nudes with all sorts of things involved. And so this is the first one, first nude. The camera shutter licks a self I build out of breast spill and squashed butternut sun. It's almost night. A nipple definites the sheets. How do I put this? I'm alive. So I gift my coming coffin, coffee beans, and sex. Not with anyone, just the lens. Purr, nether engine, private as spit. No need to pray. The Buddha's breath touches even this. Warm undervoice twixt the thighs. You could say, beehive misbehaving, or just pussy will do. Wet lens, legs spread. Lord, there's nothing you would say to steal me from me. Moon moves across collarbone. Find me in a black room, same hour that loved Jesus. All right, it's good for my nerves, actually. I can't see y'all. I am gonna do one more. And this is called Oumuamua, which is really worth Googling. Oumuamua, I always think like, should I say something before this? Oumuamua is a piece of something we don't know that flew through the sky and entered from a different universe into our universe. And it's the first known time that's happened. And so I fell a little bit in love with this object that's still out there somewhere, gliding through universes. And so this is Oumuamua. You nearly kissed us. I was eating a grilled cheese, flecked in basil, when I felt the hair on my neck rise. I didn't know it was you, but in some sense, it's always you. Messenger from the distant past, reaching out with metallic soil fingers to touch us, remind us, no matter how many barbecues we throw, we're going to die. In the Hubble photographs, you race like a New Yorker, a non-committal dot blurring between other non-committal dots. In one artist rendering, you're a spooky tooth, a traveling hallway. It's said you're the first known interstellar mass to pass into our solar system, celestial driftwood, they called you. I felt you pick our lock and enter. And though you disappear, you are here, lodged in my throat, a red-black bone flung from who knows where, a glistenberry turning in the dark pocket of God. Though let's not kid ourselves. You are God. You spy on our restless marble. The back of my neck knows there's heaven, and then there's heaven. An hourglass minus the hours. You tumble dry through a web of zeros. Remind us, remind us. I was sinking, my teeth into a cheesy basil peppered sandwich, the likes of which you'll never know, while a million long lost brother Oumuamuas moved in stealth, can opening the atmosphere. Wherever you come from is beyond the monosyllabic dark. When I close my eyes and imagine your home, I see a mud-slick calf wailing motherless. Like all good questions, its belly is black. Remind me, my indecipherable nomad, my return to no sender, my alien friend. Like you, I came from somewhere. I'm spinning off course, perfectly on course. In this kitchen, dented by shadow, spatula at hand, flipping a second grilled cheese for the woman in my living room. How will I tell her? As we sloppily dance our teeth across melted butter, her hands understanding my hair, my hands a bowl at her face, curled in each other, we obsess until sunrise. We grow rich, spending the currency of our breath. Oumuamua, you're out of sight line now. No astronomer knows your ecstatic thievery of heaven, but I do. Thank you so much for listening. Stay safe, and dare I say, I love you.
Thank you, Shira. That was lovely. Put us in a good place. I'm in a good place right now, and I'm always appreciative of you. And I could listen and watch Shira be Shira all day. Let's keep the party going, though. So next up, we're going to have the one and only Taylor Johnson. Taylor Johnson is from Washington, D.C. They are the author of Inheritance, out from Alice James Books in 2020, and their work appears in the Paris Review, the Baffler, Scalawag, and elsewhere. Johnson is a Cave Canem Graduate Fellow and a recipient of the 2017 Larry Neal Writers Award from the D.C. Commission on the Arts and Humanities. They live in New Orleans, where they listen. And now, Taylor Johnson.
Hey, thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Carrie, for bringing us all together, and Alice James generally. It's really good to be here with y'all. Thank you, Shira, for opening this up in like a really nice way. I'm gonna read from Inheritance. Thank you for being here. Since I quit that internet service, I'm thinking more about the transitive properties in books, the words, the palimpsest of images accruing in my brain, but more immediately the book in my hand, the cover worn at one end from sweat and gripping it when it comes close, close as in when I stood up, let one deep exhale when I came to the lines of all fearless happiness from which reaches my life I sing and find it underlined by a beloved stranger. It's like turning the record over, knowing you're hearing what I'm hearing, easing up on the edge of the chair. It's like we're holding hands now at the edge of a white silence from which we are to make a music of our being here, of being moved, wherein our music complements and holds close each other's sound in the wet room of the tree I met you in. Nothing is said about the water or the fearless trees angled toward and against the light that did fall on me, made much of me, light that sings through me, so I'm singing. Ecclesiastes, how to testify. In the marketplace where my voice was everything, was meaningless, knee-deep in the mud with my tongue out, monsoon, mason jar, morning glory, must I carry even the idiolect of gravel, glossolalia and stupor of all things, moving and unmoving. I fall in and fall back out. Oh, exaltation, The Virginia pine grows straight up to a deeper blue, and most taproots I'll never see. I was waiting for you to turn around, pretending none of this baffles me, not taking it personally. Consider the deer. Consider the deer who, when I say deer, doesn't know whether or not I mean a single one, though there were two dead and shiny with maggots on the side of the highway, or a group of them, always a bit lost in the divided woods, blame our need to reach or leave each other faster. Consider the deer that I saw dead on the shoulder midday, mid-autumn, whose neck in post-rigor mortis pining broke itself again so that the head could face the woods setting itself alight. Oh, that I could turn and live again, the deer might say, recalling that one poet singing to himself, ruining the grass. Consider that the deer, when called, won't come alone, purely due to linguistic vagary, who, like me, resists the gesture toward singularity. Call my name, and the whole woods rise up inside me. I is a plural state of being. Consider the multitude before my footfall, how I'm able to crane my neck back, see only myself. I forget about money, watching the clouds over 8th and Ingraham, the clouds a rhubarb-colored ship in the sky. To my right, it all grays out. The bats emerging now from the chimneys, the bats listening for the cicada's echo. Echo is a way to create space, is a metaphor for time. Time for the cop to move along. I think watching the cop watch me from my porch. Fuck 12. The robin on the wire vine, the wire eye competing with the bats for cicadas. The robin competing reds with the sky a money for the cicadas, a way to make space, time. The cicadas sounding out the future through repetition. A friend says to spend nothing is to keep flexibility in your hands, to keep your youth. Money, the sound of decay. Money, the repetition of waste. The black proletarianization of the bourgeois form isn't Kanye West gospel samples. O death, your singular eye. My mother speaks the king's English, makes quiche, makes clove pomanders in winter, pawned her flute, cleaned my elementary school classroom. What is hers, brilliant song, my mother sotto voce in her chair, asking for touch? It is drowning she means, not freedom. I swam fine, don't you get it? Oh death, my mother is elegant, alive, entering the blue hole of evening alone. You could reach into the frame, pull her out. Oh, death, I've been crueler. I've watched. I'll just read a few more. Go, Ode. Oh, capacious room, give me your tongues. I'm done with being self-possessed. Take hold, turn the river in me. I'm freed up to be anybody else. My molecules twinned with the sound. Oh, erotic hours, pass me not. Keep me in the pocket. Oh, percussive descent. Devotion is anything you say go awry. In this early hour, keep me recursive. The impulse is to lose my feet. I'm yet overcome. You seismic drop, you sovereign fade. Oh, black chaos, I'm in study at your center. Turn me out. West 177th and Broadway. All night you eyed the man I wanted to be. My jaw flexed tight. Anger slipped into desire. Easily he would rise. Easily you would disperse, pleasure made into light. What you want under him, I put on to amuse. I, your warped supplicant. Yes, love is looking away. My desire greened in your dismissal was technicolor and twilight made and never turning off. The city air hung humid above our charade. What need could I feel to transubstantiate, to unravel? I'll just read one more. Thank you for listening. Art movie. Red is a secret in the trees. The train passes through the trees in Alabama. Red earth, red earth. The winter light consumes the field. The light silvers, the light relieves. The light thrown as dust upon the field. I put my ear in. I crack an egg, and a saxophone that tells on me, yells at me, comes out. No yoke. The train hollers to stop. The train stops, still loads new passengers, but the conductor won't let me get off and kiss you. You know, that's what I haunted to be. The stage is the window circle between us, the emergency exit door. I keep you in my ear and give you how I'm doing and what I want to eat where I'm not on a train. You and your white boots. You tell me what else could come out of an egg. Women all the way down, holding waists. The train is a place going by, strictly passing through. I touch a stranger's wrist going back to my seat. The whole train becomes a garment I put on. I touch indiscriminately. I can't stay, I tell the dog, waving from your convertible. None of the windows open. I held your gaze until I couldn't. In the previous scene, I took you to the slip until we were shining tunnels for sound. I took your sound for my name, never asked what I called myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor. That was incredible. I'm just always just taken by like the sonic alchemy in those poems, and I'm starting in one place and I'm ending up in another, starting in one word, ending up in another, and in one image, landing in another. I don't know, just all I can't describe it, but it's incredible. So thank you so much. And as we proceed, let's get to our third reader for the afternoon, none other than Sumita Chakraborty. Sumita Chakraborty is a poet, essayist, and scholar. She is a Helen Zell visiting professor in poetry at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, where she teaches in literary studies and creative writing. Her poetry has appeared in Poetry Magazine, the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day, the American Poetry Review, Best American Poetry 2019, Los Angeles Review of Books Quarterly, The Rumpus, and elsewhere. Her scholarship appears or was forthcoming in Cultural Critique, Interdisciplinary Studies in Literature, and the Environment, Modernism / Modernity, College Literature, and elsewhere. She is the recipient of fellowships and honors from the Poetry Foundation, the Forward Arts Foundation, and Kundiman. And she is the author of the poetry collection Arrow, out from Alice James Books and Carcanet Press 2020, which has received coverage in the New York Times, NPR, and The Guardian. You can find her on her website at www.sumitachkraborty.com or on Twitter at @notsumatra. Love that name. And now I present to you Sumita.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Courtney. It's always really a gift to be in your presence. And thank you to Shira and Taylor for those phenomenal readings. Thank you to everyone who hung around in the chat or in the virtual space as we sorted through technical stuff. And thank you to Carrie and to Alice James. This kind of literary community and fellowship is one that I think we say that we have, or we say we want to have very frequently, but feels like a much more fleeting and elusive kind of thing when you really get down to it. Alice James is one place where it has never felt fleeting or elusive for me. I love being pressmates with these astonishing people and working with these remarkable editors and staff. So I'm going to read just one poem. It's a longer poem. It is the first poem in my book, Arrow, and a few quick things that might help. Arrow is about my experience becoming someone who can value love and kinship and community, even when those things were weaponized against me from the very beginning of my life. I'm a survivor of domestic violence and child sexual assault. And the book takes place, or it begins in a place where I/my speaker has for the first time decided to want to take up space in the world. So accordingly, there are a lot of different kinds of versions of power and claiming that the speaker tries out in this poem, while also sort of taking stock of where she's been and where she is. And there are a lot of kind of, for lack of a better term, there's a lot of anger in this first poem that ends up kind of revised and worked with and nurtured in some different ways in the book to come. So if you feel like she's kind of mad and want to see what happens next, that's the journey of the rest of the book. The only other things that would really help you to know, I think, are that it's also written in the aftermath of my sister's death in 2014. And there are a number of references in it to poets I refer to by their first name, as well as lines from Titus Andronicus, which is Shakespeare's bloodiest and most kind of juvenile play, which goes along with that sort of mindset in which we find the speaker. So without babbling at you further, marigolds. When I picture Robert, he's in the public garden watching setting suns like the ill-fated king turn all to gold. Robert with the swans, Robert under the statue of Washington, Robert amid the tulips. Without a childhood home, I made for myself a house of orchids, of sewer grates with fishes on them, of forsythia and maple trees. Of this I am sure. When Robert crossed the bridge between Boston and Cambridge, he saw Poseidon. In late summer, he could tell that underneath the sailboats is a god mighty and to be feared. In midwinter, he alone knew the ice could not long contain that god. In the pipes in his home, he heard the gurgle of illness. I smell illness in the riotous orchid blooms. What are midnight trees? I think that once I knew one such tree, if it is the kind owls gather on nightly to fight, barking, eyes dim with bloodlust and the hiss of feathers, I built for myself a house of orchids with a cave underneath, a cave shaped into an armory brimming with tarantula hawks, giant sparrow bees, and admiral butterflies. In place of stalactites hang treeless, inextricable roots, oh, sacred receptacle of my joys. The day I first learned the word Argonaut, I wrote it in a poem. I searched the seas for one. I searched the skies. I searched a painting. In the painting, I found the word spears, which I drove slowly into my father's ribs. He I eulogized and he I resurrected, reaching again for the spears. I have seen countless full moons fail. Each of them hollowed, flooding heart first, the craw-faced light, the bracken underneath, then the sound of a wounded owl and a soft, sudden darkness in my throat. Oh, how this villainy. In morning, the owls are replaced by hawks. From one angle, broad-winged hawks seem to have two pairs of hollow eyes. We are looking for you, say the kettles of satellites to the humans lost, to the plane disappeared, to what lives 30 miles below the surface of Enceladus. On this morning in April, Hikesun 01, Ocean Shield, and HMS Echo hear a thump that sounds like the colors inside an oyster shell. The frequency of the noise can make a heart stop. Anxious as seaweed, over the sides of the ships creep hordes of trembling locators. The satellites stare with breath hitching in their throats. Between the wine-colored hull of Ocean Shield and Enceladus lies 8 times the distance between Earth and Sun, and 30 miles below the surface of that geyser-ridden tiger-striped Saturnian moon lies life, report the satellites. The hawks steal their 2 pairs of eyes up toward alien oceans on other planets. What I am is all that I can carry, wrote Deborah. What can I carry? All that I caught, I left behind. All that I missed, I carried. The hawks are not looking toward alien oceans. I am. I am looking to alien men and women. I picture hurtling into them by turn to serve my lust. I picture us bent sideways, impaled, contorted, and screaming. I picture the different shades of a moan. The word bed fills the four eyes in my mind with the color gold, gold of the ill-fated king and the garden sunset, gold glinting in a decaying tooth, golden rod, a haze of pollen, the dragon's treasure, a long necklace of many fine gold chains reaching down to a woman's hips. Young woman walks down to the river of gold. Young woman walks down to the river and drowns. In the word bed also joyously wail bed, the color of ashen near death, bed, the fleshly color of bodies broken for good, bed, the color blue of heart-stopped lips. Oh, here I lift this one hand up to heaven. The ghost of the poisoned dogs live in the piano. The ghost of my mother, still living, lives in her excised tumor and staghorn kidney stone. The ghost of my ability to love without grief, still living, lives in this poem. All my pockets filled with stones in the river I'll be found. Why then, I am the devil's dam. Dangle me from a cliff 12,000 feet above sea. Oh, speak with possibilities. Build me a skin of glass to cover the Grand Canyon. Throw me on it. Summon 1,000 wilding mares. Restrain them with massive chains, foot-long links of hardened steel. When the chains buck from fracture, let the mares stampede the glass. Bid them trample my body. Watch from a great distance as the glass cracks. Watch us beasts entangle. Watch me take a hoof to the mouth, to the skull, to the groin. Hear us squeal and bark and howl, calling out as wretches do to failing life. When at last we 1,001 blood-filled creatures reach the bottom of the canyon, throw yourself in. My voice in your ear will tell you that you were meant to die like this, a beautiful and inelegant dive onto a field of reds, some bright and sun-kissed, some dark and pulp-dashed, your and our blood across the burnt orange schist. See, oh, see what I have done. I fear neither the sight of nor the word for blood. HMAS Albatross has joined the search for the plane. It is May now and there is no sign of it. The detritus lied. The home I made is of orchids, forsythia, barbed wire, and burnt metal. In the bedroom, I planted what I imagine a midnight tree to be. Its roots join the treeless roots in the armory beneath. Ravished, my hands cut off, my tongue cut out, I put my home under the wisteria, craving owls at war under thick purple overhang. No territory there is that is not mine. The albatross, it is mine. Enceladus is mine, your innermost thigh beneath the wisteria, mine. Poseidon is mine, and the river between Boston and Cambridge, and the one that wends through Georgia, floods into the Gulf. I am dreaming of a monument to moments colonized by theaters of the imagination. Oh, monstrous. The O of a mouth without a tongue, the O of two pairs of lips clasped, starving on one another, horns and cry of hounds. The ballet in my deadly standing eye is the arrows flight into the neck, the horses tumble into the canyon, a nation's search for a single tiger with quills in its neck, a spilled cloud of felled bees, the elephant's horror in the flock of red-billed birds, feathered locusts who from their first breath form trembling caverns with their mouths, their aggregate force snapping branches off of trees. The orchestra plays low drum beats, a single singer carving the melody. Do not, I pray, promise me an untroubled lake. Take me instead to the rivers with vengeful gods under steaming and frozen waters. Take me instead for the stag, the rifle, and the hunter. Promise me unending days in which I can picture, then picture again a fire whirl, the slowness of the sea drinking a ferry or a plane, the gasps of air bubbles around carapaces, the moons of Saturn. I myself am hell's, and I prize them as if they were the rarest blooms. Promise me I will always reach again for spears, await the horses on the glass above the gaping hollow O of the earth. All is lost. Flee this house. So chants James's Ouija. Or perhaps in the palace of time, our lives are a circular stare, and I am turning, writes Lucille's ghost-guided hand. Always in my mouth, I hold the head of an axe with its bit at the back of my throat. Oh heavens, can you hear a man groan? Here nothing breathes but we phased and hungry. Oh wondrous thing. Worlds such as this were not thought possible to exist, writes the astronomer. It is June. Deep beneath those golden waves of the river I'll be found. My sister has joined the list of those I mourn. Her ghost lives in each powder-winged moth. In the ballet, the stage fills with a troupe of dancers in dusty gold skirts, shoes, asphyxiation blue, hair, the tones of flesh. Center stage are 6 dancers who wear only red, moving in unison so they throb as one bloodied yoke. The troupe around them shudders as though in blissful death throes. The single singer quiets, the orchestra breaks down its instruments. For my brethren slain, I ask a sacrifice, so barbarous, beastly villains like myself. Die. Die saying, please, die longing, die helpless, die with your eyes fixed to the most treacherous side of a mountain, to newborn stars, to plains not found. Die with your throat stuffed so that each moment hereafter is a dream of a gasp. Die so that my midnight tree might grow new branches. Die like a sapling struck by lightning in an ash-ridden and still smoldering field. Die amid the tulips. Die smelling the orchids I grow. Die in the mass of horses and a pied flock of shrieking birds. From the oceans, creatures great and small take to the land. From the land, each parachuted seed takes to the sky. From within my armory comes a scent melodious and unearthly. A strain of moths, black, flies as though sewn each to each at the wing. Their flight path blooms dark into the gray air like a print from a silvered glass plate. Soon we will learn our bodies are formed of dead stars, so that if we made incisions from breastbone to rectum, the caves within would reveal themselves to house celestial ash. As the stag, I fear the mouth of the rifle. As the rifle, I point my mouth deadly toward you. As the hunter, I execute myself so that I may feast. Worlds such as this were not thought possible to exist. My lord, I aim a mile beyond the honeyed moon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sumita. That was incredible, incredible. I think I'm still spellbound. So I want to thank all 3 readers, all 3 poets, Shira, Taylor, and Sumita, for sharing their work with us this afternoon. And looking towards the clock, we do have a little bit of time for some Q&A and discussion. I've got some questions prepared for our poets, but if you have a curiosity of your own, feel free to put it in the chat, and hopefully we can get to one of those as well, at least. For our readers, perhaps it makes sense to come back on screen for everyone, and we can kind of party out together during the discussion. So thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Sumita. And thank you, Shira. And I know, Shira, we do have a scheduling conflict, so Shira might have to leave a little early. So I wanted to preface that for everyone at home ahead of time. But I didn't know where to start. So what I'll do actually is I will start with some of the questions. I came up with questions that were each inspired by the titles of your collection with Alice James. And so I kind of grouped them that way. So I'll start with Odes first. And one of the things that I'm really curious about is, for each of you, what or who do you aim to exalt in your work? What or who do you perceive yourself to be singing to? And anyone who wants to take that first can go right ahead.
I suppose. I suppose I'll do that. Thank you, Courtney. I love that we're all answering about each other's books. That feels really calling, like, inward and wonderful. So thank you. I think there's levels to it, in the words of Kendrick. There's the initial exaltation where, you know, obviously for me in my book, it's Odes to Lithium. So even if you never read the book, you're like, you could cheat in high school and be like, I read it. And so Lithium becomes sort of an emblem, and that's the next level for who I'm exalting. So Lithium as the medication that I take to save my life and to keep me stable. It begins that way, but then there's kind of these concentric circles of embrace, and it goes outward towards the Shira who was hospitalized, the Shira who couldn't talk about what had happened with her illness, the Shira that was sort of, you know, stigmatized, not sort of, but was stigmatized. And then it goes outward, and I do believe that every, I think in Taylor's poem, there was a line that said something like, every eye contains pluralities. And I really think that in many ways, the I of any poem, when it's claiming I, it's actually got, you know, wheeze to the oomph degree. And so I think in so many of the poems, the exaltation is kind of like, I've described it before as a Clark Kent Superman thing, where you think it's Clark Kent, but there's Superman. You think it's Superman, but there's Clark Kent. And so I think the poems are seeking to exalt anyone who has been diminished, period. And that diminishing comes also from within, not just from external systems. Yeah, maybe I'll leave it at that. Thank you for that question.
Thank you for that response. Taylor, Sumita, do either of you want to add anything? If not, we can move to another question.
I'll just say that I really love that answer, Shira. I love the concentric circles of exaltation. I really dig that. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, ditto. That was perfect. I think I would co-sign so much of that. And also, I think that for me, it's really important to portray survivors or survivorship as not particularly a linear journey and not necessarily a consistently redemptive one. So I think that there are odes all over the place in my book. And I think the address of those odes, in addition to everything amazing that Shira's already said, has a lot to do with the imperfect, flawed survivor, which of course is all of us, but kind of highlighting that imperfection as a thing to bless and embrace.
Thank you, Sumita. So another question I have, I'll do the inheritance question next. So for each of you and whoever wants to respond, what are the things that you, as people and as poets, have been given to hold on to? And have you dropped them and left them behind, or have you carried those things forward? I know that's a big question, but yeah.
Courtney, these questions are beautiful. Thank you for writing them and really thinking about them. Yeah, I think what I've been given to hold is many things, but I think one practice that helped me write the poems that make up this book is I've been given a way of noticing that I learned from my grandfather, which is essentially listening with the earth. And he was somebody who grew food and knew all about animals and taught me how to listen in the woods. So I think that one of the main things that I'm trying to do in this book is to invite people in to listen with me. And I think that's one thing that I was given by my grandfather in this practice of deep noticing and deep listening.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sumita, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, I was just seeing if anyone else wanted to say anything, that's all.
Yeah, it's a tricky topic for me. The more concrete things that I've gotten from family, say, those are all pretty much universally terrible. So overwhelmingly, most of the folks in my family are kind of garbage people. And I think that often when I contemplated inheritance when I was younger, especially, it was with that idea of anger, only anger and only hurt and only pain. And I think that one of the things that I have been fortunate to kind of live my way into thinking now is that despite the what being usually just bucketfuls of pain, those experiences, especially thanks to the people in the community and the spaces into which I've been welcomed after that fact, allowed me to take all that was given and hopefully make of it, I don't like to be overly redemptive, but a more redemptive way to apply the things that I learned. So sensitivity and investment in everyone else's well-being and investment in my own well-being, valuing survival and valuing what a voice can do in the world. So I think that, yeah, there's a lot more I could say on this, but I'll pause there. It's been really interesting and fulfilling for me to learn how to rework or to both nourish the fact that my early sense of inheritance was nothing good, and that I've been lucky to come into a place where I've been able to kind of take something from that that's more positive moving forward.
That's real. Thank you. Okay. I guess we'll go to Arrow now. Why not? And this one I think is more centered around process for any of you. So, you know, when you're sitting down to draft or revise, how important is a sense of direction for when you're sitting down to do that? Is the poem, you know, pointed towards this true north while you're shaping it, or is it more of, you know, an exploration? I think of like with a busted compass where the needle's just spinning. You don't know exactly where you're going until you arrive. I'm curious to see kind of how each of you experience, you know, going about your writing as it pertains to that sense of direction, if that makes sense.
Courtney, I'm obsessed with these questions. They're so good. Yeah, although the title of the book indicates that kind of like straight linear velocity, and it's something that matters to me in terms of the overall impact of the book itself. And the energy associated with it. No, it's the spinning compass going to God knows where. And it's usually going somewhere. Like if I think I know where it's going at the beginning, it's usually a horrible poem. So I really like when it tells me what it's going to be much more than the other way around.
Thank you, thank you. Shira, Taylor, any things that you want to speak to in regards to the question?
Yeah, I'll say a few weeks ago I was talking to some students and about inheritance, and one mentioned how the book felt like you're in kind of a crowded house party, and you know how when that happened, sometimes you would have to touch the back of a stranger to kind of get to where you're going, but you don't really follow a straight line. That's really how I feel about writing poems. It's very much like touch and then pass and touch and pass. So there's nothing linear about it at all. And I honestly don't want to know where it's going, you know what I mean? Just I'm getting closer to the sound, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Shira, did you have anything? Sorry, I thought you might have been motioning, so.
Oh, I'm going to kidnap that description, Taylor, and credit you because I think that's so beautiful. It's so intimate. Sometimes when I'm talking to students or just describing the process, I think of it as like becoming really intimate with mystery. Like you're just showing up and you're not distancing yourself from the fact that you don't know what's going to happen. You're becoming intimate with the fact that you don't know what's going to happen. But I think that as a guiding image, like the idea that you're touching someone that's helping you maneuver, and that you're trusting you'll get out of the room somehow or into another, I just think that's so beautiful. So I'm going to dip for my appointment, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me. And you guys are so beautiful. I'm like so excited about these books. So excited about these books. So I'm going to dip. Thank you, Courtney, so much.
Well, thank you, Shira. Thank you. Have a good one. Okay, so I'm keep looking towards the clock. I think we maybe have time for one other question. So let me choose which one that we'll go through together since we've hit all of the title-inspired questions. So let's see. One of the things that I could say about each of you all that have read today, I know Shira just dipped, but I've gotten a chance to get to know each of you a little bit over time. Our paths has crossed in a number of different ways, and each one of you I think of as a person of great character. And so that says something about you as people. And often when I think about, you know, the fact that you are poets and artists, I then also think about the character of your work and this idea that, you know, this old spoken truism of, you know, character is, you know, who you are when no one else is around. And thinking about that same kind of frame, but applying it to your work, you know, what is your work like when no one else is around, when no one is engaging it? What is that to you? How would you describe that? And I'll leave it there.
That's an amazing question. And now if I'm quiet, it's also because I'm imagining my poems like in Toy Story, all like coming alive when I'm not even watching them, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna party." So that's what I'm dwelling on here. I think, for me, and it goes back to that idea of the imperfections in all of us, and not needing to necessarily or at all be flawless or valiant or anything like that all the time. The thing that I hope my poems are doing when no one's watching is kind of the same thing that I hope they're doing when everyone is watching, which is that instead of striving to try to be perfect or flawless or anything like that all the time, what they're trying to do is learn and reassess and grow. I hope that every next poem that I write looks at an older poem that I've written and been like, oh, you must have been going through it at that time. I would not think that way now, although obviously still some kind of continuity of previous thought or experience. I hope they're changing. I hope they're evolving. And I hope in Toy Story parlance that they're having an incredible adventure.
Thank you for that, Sumita. Shout out Pixar. Okay, Taylor?
Yeah. I mean, Corny, these questions, man, they're really beautiful. And I love it when we can be in this situation where it's just like, me and you talking, you know what I mean? That's beautiful. It feels very, very real, person to person in that way. I don't know. I believe in the continual renewing of my mind. You know what I mean? Which for me is just an effort to continue to follow my curiosities. I really like. I think when I'm writing, I never have thought that like, oh, this is going to be seen. You know what I mean? I think I only encountered that really when this book came out in November. So as long as I stay within my curiosity, I think that the work is always renewing itself and trying to show me something. And I hope that it continues to do that. Yeah.
Word. No, I appreciate that, Taylor. Thank you so much. And thank y'all for being so open and receptive to the questions. Thank the interpreters for helping make this a seamless experience for everybody. Thank you to Alice James. Thank you to all our sponsors. Thank you to the staff to helping us navigate the technical difficulties today. And thank you to everybody who stuck with us, who stayed on the line when you couldn't see anything on the screen, who was still there when we all came up and we heard the poems and you heard us talking and all of that. So I think, this has been a fabulous experience. I know I'm really appreciative to each of you. And I want to wish everybody a wonderful rest of the day, rest of AWP, and stay safe and stay healthy out there, y'all.
Thank you, Courtney. That was amazing.